How to choose a gun as a beginner. That's the question we're going to be trying to answer today. How's it going, guys, and welcome to another episode of Coffee Talk. My name is Chad and this is the Hopeful Homestead. You're out here right now next to my little tiny cabin on wheels parked back here at my little campsite I built on my family's property that we're calling the Hopeful Homestead. A 21-acre piece of land that we're going to be building our forever home on here over the next 6 months or so, hopefully. But in these videos, I like to sit out here with a cup of coffee and talk to all the husbands and dads out there about all the difficult things we have to deal with in life. And some of you, maybe you're new to this channel, maybe you haven't seen any of my videos before, maybe you're new to guns, and you got to figure out how to choose the right first gun, right? You got to go through the process of figuring out what on earth do I even do. If you have no history of guns in your family, or if you have no experience with them and it's sort of a mysterious subject to you, but you're realizing with all the craziness going on in the world that you're better off having a gun to protect your family than you aren't without it. So my advice is that if you look around and talk to enough friends, enough people in your life, somebody's going to have guns. Somebody's going to have some amount of guns that you can, if you let them know you're interested in it, believe me, if they're a gun owner and you're a new guy interested in guns, they're going to be happy to share that world with you. And, if you find someone in your life that has them, go to a shooting range with them. Ask if you can have them teach you some about it. Because hearing from a friend that you trust and that friend trusts you will be a better environment than trying to take a class or something, where you're having to deal with a stranger and you're amongst a bunch of strangers and you got a range officer staring over your neck, making you feel pressure while you're trying to learn. If that's the only way to do it, then that's still better than nothing. But if you've got a friend that you can ask to take you to a shooting range, or if they've got property that they can take you to go shooting at, that's even better, because then you can learn without the pressure of feeling like you got to follow a bunch of rules. And if you're able to do that, whatever that person has, if they've got some, different types of guns, try each of them out. Learn what recoil feels like. Learn what recoil management is like, from shot to shot if you're dealing with a semi-auto gun. Learn the differences of the reality of how much harder it is to shoot accurately with a pistol than it is a rifle. Some of these things you don't realize, based on movies and TV shows and stuff. You think a gun is just like playing tag, essentially. You're like, oh, I have a gun? Well, I can just point and shoot and bang and boom, I've done what I want. No, actually, it's a lot more difficult, and trying to hit a target with a pistol is extremely difficult, especially if you're moving or in a stressful scenario. So when it comes to understanding the differences between pistols and rifles and recoil management, accuracy, having a longer sight radius between your sights if you're using iron sights, if you feel comfortable using, other types of sights like red dot sights, optics, scopes, whatever you want to try out, whatever you feel most comfortable with. And then once you start to figure out what you feel comfortable with, stick with it and just run with it and just shut out the noise that you'll inevitably start hearing. Because once you get into the gun world and the gun community, you will have very opinionated people breathing down your neck from every corner of the internet, from every corner of everywhere, telling you how your decisions of what you feel comfortable with are wrong, stupid, and not right, and incapable. And once you have real world life experience, trying some guns out, trying different types of ammunition out, learning what they're like, learning what they sound like outside of a gun range when you don't have hearing protection on. All these things are important to know for real world use and real world application of a firearm in a self-defense scenario. And pursuing that knowledge is important to being able to choose the right gun. And you're going to end up going through a couple of guns probably. You're probably going to try something out that you found, was suggested to you, and you might like it. Maybe you get lucky and you really love the first gun you get. But I know for me that wasn't the case. I tried a bunch of things out that everybody was suggesting to be great online, and I just didn't like them at all. I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with them. So I discovered that I'm a revolver and lever gun guy. I like the way that they operate, and I like that they don't have safeties. That I like that I can control my own safety with it by how I operate the gun. That's me though. So other people wouldn't feel comfortable with that. But I came to that point by trying things out, by consulting with friends that I knew had firearms, and really seeking knowledge. And yes, you can learn some on the internet as well. You just got to take everything you read on the internet with a grain of salt, and even in videos like this that you're watching, take it with a grain of salt. I'm just one opinion. You've got to find out for yourself what you're the most comfortable with, and then what you're the most capable with long term in actual reality. So that's my advice for you if you're a beginner trying to figure out what kind of gun you want to have as your first gun. And just know that you're inevitably probably going to go through 1 or 2 or 3 guns before you get to the right one. And just make sure you're making wise economic decisions. You're not buying some $1,500 gun, right off the bat. Buy some cheap guns that, so you can try out different form factors and different methods of how they operate to see what you're most comfortable with and what you're a better shot with. And then stick to what you like after that, and just be proficient in what you like. And that's all that matters. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Thanks for watching all the way through if you did. Again, my name is Chad. This is the Hopeful Homestead. If you feel like sticking around, here's a video right here all about why I love revolvers and lever guns, why I love everything made of wood and steel, and how I feel like those kind of guns just have more soul. So go click on that, and I'll see you over in that video. Thanks for watching, guys.